We watched a movie, and it was based on a true story. It's called Dark Waters. And honestly, it blew my mind because the time frame of this movie, the first scene was 1978, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I was 6 years old. That is scary to think that for the length of time that I've been on the planet, this problem in Dark Waters was
Yeah.
happening. Basically, it's the story of DuPont and Teflon. And it's a true story. First of all, it's like so frustrating that it's a true story. The movie
Yeah.
starts off with these two young people, teenagers it look like, or maybe young adults, go swimming in some water. A boat comes along and scares them out of the water, and the boat is actually spraying
stuff,
the
yeah.
water, like neutralizing something on the water. And I feel like that's our first indication that there's clearly something in the water.
The scene after is a farmer calling out a lawyer to investigate and sue DuPont because he thinks his lands and because all his cows are dying and basically no animals can survive on his land. He owned 100, like maybe 10 cows, and at that scene there was only 2 left. Basically.
Actually, it was 190 cows that died.
190 cows that died. Since DuPont plant is close by, he suspects that they're doing something to the land or throwing stuff in the water.
And the farmer actually was smart enough. He started doing like autopsies on his animals and keeping, basically, this farmer, who we find out in the movie eventually only went to grade 12. So he didn't have a university degree. This farmer was able to figure out just by how my animals, so he had owned the land for as long as the lawyer that was trying to help him was like a 5-year-old. Because his mother used to take them to this farmer's land to play and to swim in the water and whatever. So this farmer has been on that plot of land and understands how the animals normally behave.
So basically, DuPont is a chemical company developing different compounds that are man-made, that are artificial. Throughout the movie, I think it's what they develop to create those that Teflon finish that actually. Who didn't have one Teflon pan in their households? Like my mom had them. I had them when I was younger. Through the process, I think it's a town in West Virginia where those compounds that were very harmful to humans did end in the city wells, I think. So all the drinkable water was contaminated with some of those compounds.
The thing that was scary to me about that was that when they found out, so back up, this compound is called C8, which is like carbon 8,
carbon long chain, something,
and it has fluoride in it. This compound, they first figured out that it would be able to stop tanks during the war from getting rust on them, so their tanks would last longer than the enemy's tanks. Basically, yay! The whole world is going to be saved by our military being able to stay longer than whatever. Okay, great. But they decide to use that compound on pots and pans because it makes them slippery. When they were producing these things, the people working with the compound were getting sick. So the part that's really frustrating to me, Wellness Warrior, is that their employees start falling ill and they notice it. As a matter of fact, there was one woman who was pulled off the line because she was pregnant, and they're like, oof, we probably should not have, right? But then when all the other women started to be like, oh my God, are we in danger? Rather than acknowledge that they were in danger, they put the woman back on.
Yeah.
So there's an actual obvious, we care more about the money than we care about the health of our employees.
And the population in general, that's what's scary, because a little bit later in the movie, they because the movie is around a lawyer that sued DuPont and realize that the harm they are making to that local population, and actually create a class action lawsuit against DuPont and over like how many years? 40 years that thing lasted. They actually won their case, but it was like it took the poor lawyer's whole life to be able to do something. It's often that what's like Violet is telling you, what we're telling you is that those corporation cares more about their numbers, about their finances than humans. Basically is that like he was able to show that DuPont had like analysis by their own scientists, like what's safe to it was 1 part per billion. That C8 compound safe to you, like no compound is safe like that is safe for human, because they show that it's like indestructible, but it doesn't harm humans at 1 part per billion. And their own studies showed that in the drinkable water of the town, like they're at 6. They financed like some scientists, independent scientists, that showed that finally the safe level was 150 part per billion, which it was way over like what their own studies from the 70s showed.
You know, one of the things that is frustrating in this movie is that when I read the movie Salt, Sugar, Fat, Michael Moss pointed out that they were calling the people who drink Coca-Cola heavy users, right? That was their way of talking about people who overindulge in Coca-Cola. In this movie, the people that they studied, instead of saying people, instead of talking, making sure that we understand men and women, they called them receptors. So that even if someone were to find this this research, and they were reading it, they would say, well, the receptors were able to it's like, it makes it sound like we're talking about a piece of furniture or like a technical device, when in fact it's people that they were talking about. These were human beings that they're classifying as or calling receptors, just in case the wrong eyes get on this report. They knew from the beginning of the making of the substance that it was toxic, because the people making it were getting sick. And in order to keep people, so this is where we go back to Wellness Warrior, do not sell your health. In order to get scientists to keep working in the labs with this stuff that's killing people, they gave them catalogs of here, you could pick anything you want in the catalog. Go for it. Why is that okay? Why is that okay? I don't understand.
Yeah, and like I've heard multiple instances of this. Like you said, like DuPont in that community was super involved. Like they finance schools, they invest in libraries, so they get people behind their back. So basically, like they get you behind their back so they can harm you, but like then, like you won't say anything because it's the main employer of that town, or it's like the main provider of that town, and they're so good and they're so, but in the end they're like, they're killing you. So
they definitely in the movie, and how much, like, you always wonder how much of it is real and how much of it is not. But like in the movie, it was shocking how the people were still saying, no, DuPont is amazing. They're giving us jobs and not realizing that they're trading your health to finance their poisoning of the rest of the world. It's like, it's so scary when you think about the movie tells us that their estimate is 99% of the planet has C8 in them. That's something that's in you that will never come out of you. 99% of the planet. That's crazy horrible numbers.
And we're talking also about that because remember, it's not only them. Like Monsanto, remember that story was the same thing. Like they were creating fertilizing stuff and spraying the fields that are supposed to grow the crops that are feeding human with stuff that give us cancer, basically. Like and like it's on, like there's that, but there's also that video we saw not so long ago about McDonald's. Like that's it like you can think that okay, DuPont, Monsanto, it's a little bit far from us, but like you can't even imagine how many ingredients are in McDonald's French fries, and it's cooked in like 4 different vegetable oils. All of them are like inflammatory and like stuff that you don't even imagine.
But I feel like McDonald's is in our face, and you can find those ingredients. So I feel like DuPont's situation is even more scary because it's something to cook your food, and every single person cooks food.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I don't cook food, like, so even if I'm one of the old school, not using Teflon, unless I never go to a restaurant or never, like, I would have to just never eat something like, how is it now? Oh,
That's
by the way,
impossible.
I forgot about that part. It's also the stuff, and this pissed me off. It's also the stuff that's in Scotchgard.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I'm watching this movie and I'm looking at the years ticking by and realizing that in 2005, when I bought my couches and had them Scotch-guarded, that stuff was still in everything. So I bought couches and had them Scotch-guarded. Why? Because I had a newborn that I didn't want to, throw up on the couch, and then but what's also happening with the newborn? What is that little person doing? Putting their face right up on this couch that was Scotch-guarded. Wellness Warrior, I cooked for my kid in Teflon coated. I had Scotch guard on my couch. Like, this is not even like far from me. This is close. I had Teflon coated stuff. I put Scotch guard on my furniture. It's frustrating to know that the reason that all of this was happening was because the company was making $1 billion a year. It's insulting.
Yeah.
It's insulting that when they were fined $16 million. So I can harm you for years, $1 billion per year in profit, and then you're asking me to pay 16 million. Do I care? Do I care to pay 16 million?
It's their pocket change. That's the thing.
I'm sure that they pay that just in, oh my God, toilet paper for one of their facilities. Like, it's so ridiculous. And it just shows how the health of the planet and the health of the people on the planet is both. So why do I say the health of the planet? They keep trying to get us to believe that it's the cows causing the problem in the ozone and the whatever, when we fart more than the dang cows because we are all walking around eating the wrong foods. Can we just be honest? If you think that the cows are putting more methane than you and me, or that I was anyways, you know what happens when you start doing carnivore? What's the thing you don't do anymore?
Yeah,
Fart. Yeah. But somehow, it's the cows. We are harming our planet because we're deforesting to plant crops that can't replenish. Like, none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. But then we have the other side of it where we are being told to eat all the wrong foods. None of that makes sense. We are at every turn, Wellness Warrior, in a position where our health is ignored because some company wants to make money. And it's very sad.
It's sad, but the saddest part, like you said, some stuff you have control over if you know, but some stuff you don't. Like the vegetables and fruits that you think are the healthiest at the grocery stores because those apples are huge and the salad is green. Everything is somehow been tempered with either by some OGM stuff or like sprayed that stuff that's harm to us. So like it becomes hard to make sometimes good choice. Like what are we suggesting?
Before I go to what we're suggesting, I just want to point this out because I feel like the thing about this movie that just haunts me since watching it is that they knew.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the part that haunts me. That the top of the top people in this company not only knew that the Teflon stuff that they're putting out into the world was harmful. It's not killing people right away, but it's harmful. It's years and years and years before it's gonna maybe give you cancer or whatever. But in their own company, in their own plants, those people, it wasn't taking years and years. It was taking, like, there was one person that started and 2 years later was passed. They talked about him and other people that had birth defects in their children. All kinds. So it didn't take years. So here's the thing, Wellness Warrior, that I want us to understand. When it takes years to impact us, we rationalize it in our head and say, oh, but that's years from now. But I get the ease of cooking, right now. And as an adult, me cooking, so I've gotten through all my growth stuff, I've gotten through, right? And I'm in this adult phase. The impact that has on me versus my kid that I'm also cooking for. This company didn't care. Didn't care. Okay. Because when the kid was still in me and I was exposed to that stuff, there was birth defects and everything being talked about. Okay. Wellness Warrior, I want you to understand that this movie is helping us to see where when the negative impact is far away, companies are willing to let us suffer because it's making them money in the moment. And the other place that this happens is vegetation. That we are eating fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, nuts and seeds all the time because we're being told it's healthy. When in fact, there's stuff, there's oxalates, there's lectins, there's gluten, there's all kinds of stuff in these foods that are harming our health down the road, far away, right? We're going to be diabetic, we're going to have cancer, we're going to down the road, far away. So because it's far away, they're saying it's safe. But can I point out, there's other plants that if we eat them, within hours, we are no longer walking the planet. It's not because if you have the higher dose one that it's harmful, that the lesser dose one isn't harmful, right? The people in the plant didn't last 2 years. The rest of us, it takes years for that Teflon to mess us up because we're getting less of it, but it's still harmful. The people who overdo carbohydrates or, heaven forbid, eat from the wrong plant pass sooner than the people who do it slowly, but it's still messing us up. We need to understand that the healthiest thing that you could eat is not vegetation. The healthiest thing you could eat is a well-fed, and well-fed means it's eating what it's supposed to eat, animal. Yeah. And I'm including fish in there. Eating what it's supposed to eat. Yeah. Right? That's the healthiest thing that we can eat. We need to stop calling garbage, which is any vegetation. Yeah. We need to stop calling garbage food. Yeah. Food is protein with the accompanying fat from an animal.
So, like, back to those big corporations, like especially DuPont, that knew. Like, question is, do we really think McDonald's don't know what crap they put in their food and they're feeding us? Like, you often talk about like hyper palatability, or we're gonna call it like that, where they create food to get us hooked at the expense of our health.
Absolutely.
So that's why, like, we recommend eating meat not cooked in a Teflon pan, hopefully.
Even when you go back to, like, you know, one of the things that was in the McDonald's video was the whole fact that the bread.
Oh yeah.
Like the number of ingredients. Again, the
you
point
have to go check the video, yeah.
Dr. Saladino was just making the point of how many ingredients in all of these, but even the pickles, like how many ingredients in these foods. And it reminds me of the Subway.
Yeah.
Like recently Subway was in the news because the amount of sugar in their bread was equivalent as if it was cake. Yeah. So you're not, like, they knowingly formulate things in a way that you can't resist eating them. And then when you're either overweight or sick, their answer to you is because you don't have willpower. It's because you don't
Because
have
you don't move
control,
more. You
right?
don't move enough.
Yeah, you don't
You don't
move. You don't
exercise
move
enough.
enough. Yes, like
Yeah.
you're the glutton. It's not the food that we're making,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like we need to be, we need to be more insulted.
Oh yeah, the worst thing was, I think also to our surprise, like both McDonald's salt packages, the salt, have sugar in them. Like it's like it's horrible. It's horrible. I was like, when I saw that video, my first reaction was to call my kids, will talk to my kids, say, I never want to see you eating like McDonald's again. Like it was that bad. And probably all the fast food chains are the same. Like it's not only them. They just create food to queue and to have you go there every meal.
I would be
It's
surprised.
like,
I would be surprised if every one of those little teeny containers of salt, if it doesn't have sugar in it too. But what? Why? Why is there sugar in the salt?
yeah.
What's the excuse that they're going to give us for the fact that there's sugar in the salt?
Like if I was a one of the eye levels at McDonald's, like seeing Dr. Saladino's video, I would be very worried. Seriously, I would be very, very worried, like with that video. Actually, it was funny because he shot that video in a McDonald's, so I was like, that was like that. He had some nerves doing that, but like, yeah, it's it wasn't an interesting like video.
One of the things that's hard is that how many people will see that video and still the next week go back to McDonald's.
Oh yeah, well, that's called addiction.
And I think that's the other piece of this puzzle that I hope comes, that we take away from this DuPont thing, is that we are learning to accept that there's going to be chemicals in everything, even though that does not need to be the case. It should never have been the case. That should not be. But we are being taught to accept that no matter what you do, Violet, there's going to be chemicals in it. So just no, we should not be accepting that. That should make us all very angry. That we can't, have you actually taken a look at baby formula? The amount of sugar in baby formula. So if you happen to be a mother, for whatever reason, that cannot breastfeed, the baby formula is sugar.
Yeah, that's crazy because we know that breast milk is mainly fat. It's composed of fat. Like it's major fat, minor. Like there's some glucose in it, but like
I do agree with
crazy.
you, Pat. That the fact of the matter is that breast milk is formulated specifically to help grow your baby in a healthy way, with proteins and all the things that the baby actually needs.
What we're saying basically is do not trust everything or anything you either put in your body or on your body, or like we need to check everything. We need to just be very, very careful with like.
We need to be so much more careful than we're being, and we need to question.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we need to question.
We're not questioning big companies enough. We're taking it for granted that the people at these companies care about humans. And about the planet. But honestly, when you see how animals are farmed, you start to understand that they don't care about the planet. Because if you cared about the planet, you'd care about the animals that we're eating. There's no reason that an animal that we're going to eat doesn't have a healthy life until it's time to become food. Right? Yeah. It should have a healthy life. But no, that's not what happens. They're in scenarios where they can't move around enough. That's filthy a lot of the time. And then when you have farmers who are doing the right thing and have them out on the pasture and feeding them what they're supposed to eat, their land gets encroached on and encroached on and encroached on, or they just ruined, like what happened to this guy. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No. So go watch that movie. It's a very very interesting
It's called
movie.
Dark Waters.
Dark Waters, yeah.
We need to pay more attention to what's in our food, what's in the products that we use, not even just in our food. Teflon, there's no way that I would have guessed that the pan was going to poison me. Yeah. Especially since we've known since back in, I don't even remember, way back when those cups that were made of, what was that metal that was the cups were made of that was poisoning people? when the coating would come off. I can't remember. They were like,
Yeah.
we knew since then that you have to be careful of like these
Yeah.
substances that, right? So how do we go from knowing that, again, I say it, how do we go from knowing something and protecting people from it to turning around and saying, oh, but it's profitable, so
Yeah.
we can yeah, it's only some people are going to get cancer. Only some people are going to have birth defects. Only some, like, why is that okay?
Yeah.
Just like, I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing.
No. Yeah.
I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing because it's crazy. So, Dark Waters, Mark Ruffalo. Go watch it.
Yeah. And go check also Paul Saladino's McDonald video. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And we're going to try to find more stuff like this to talk to you guys about. Because seriously, we need to share these ideas so that more people will be cautious about what they put in their mouths, what they buy to use. These things matter. What are we putting on the screen?
I don't know.
There's a video that's here that you should be watching. Again, we don't know what we're doing. Watch the video. Hit like.
Yeah.
Talk to you next time.
And subscribe, of course. And don't forget, Violet is live every Monday.